On today's episode, we're going to be unpacking some of the biggest meta ad myths still floating around in the e-com space in 2026 and why believing them might be capping your growth. Today, I'm joined again by Charlie, and we're going to be diving into the common advice brands follow, from turning off low ROAS ads to obsessing over testing campaigns and attribution tools, and breaking down what actually moves the needle versus what just feels productive. Charlie, you excited to dig into this episode?
Yeah, this is a good one. We've got some controversial topics in here. I'm looking forward to upsetting some people, maybe.
Stirring the pot a little bit.
Yeah, hopefully we upset some ads warriors, some agencies out there.
Cool. All right. Well, let's just dig in. I think we've got 5 here. I think let's go through them chronologically. I reckon the first one, probably arguably one of the ones that we see the most from clients, turning off volume drivers in the ad account. You want to dig in?
Yeah. This is in chronological order of importance, and basically we've set this up in the way of, like, for us, volume drivers is by far the biggest myth. Like, it's the one we hate the most. It makes zero sense. We don't turn ads off at all at Paradigm. Like, we just don't. We avoid it at all costs. And again, going back to the internal brand that we've got, that we launched in Jan of 2025, in 13 months of running ads for that business, we never once turned a single ad off, except obviously short-term promos that have ended, so like Black Friday, obviously we turn off, but like evergreen BAU ads, we have never turned off a single ad, and that's definitely going to ruffle some feathers on LinkedIn and maybe Twitter as well. Like, people are going to listen to that and think it's crazy, but like, it's just the way that we work. We don't see a reason to be turning off volume drivers. In most ad accounts that we audit, it's the same common problem that we see, right? You go to last 90 days, you filter by top spenders at ad level, and you often see like number 1, number 3, number 5, number 6 out of the top 10 spenders last 90 days have often been turned off. And when you dig into why that is, the ad channel ROAS is a little bit lower than the rest of the ads in there. So I guess the thinking behind it is, oh, this ad's got a little bit lower ROAS than the other top 3. If I turn this off, more spend will go to the others, which are driving a higher ROAS. It's just not how it works. It's just not how meta works, right? The common pattern with these ads that have a lower in-channel ROAS, these what we would call volume drivers, they often have a much stronger first-time impression ratio, right? Which is always a metric you should look at before ever turning an ad off. Because ultimately, like, if there's ads in your ad account that have a really strong first-time impression ratio, and they're doing so much legwork upper funnel for your business, they're driving so many new eyeballs, so much net new reach, they're obviously not going to have as good of a 7-day click ROAS as other ads, as DPAs, as statics, as lower funnel ads, because that's just, they're doing the upper funnel legwork. Like, it's impossible for them to have such a strong first-time impression ratio, to be hitting new people so much, and to then still be hitting the same 7-day click ROAS as other ads in your ad account. It makes no sense, and it's just not achievable. Like, ultimately, the way we think about this is every ad, like, we're setting our campaign up for the most part on a highest volume optimization setting. Every ad is playing its part in that objective, in that wider, like, business goal, in that wider objective of driving the highest volume of sales possible. That doesn't mean that every ad is going to have a high ROAS. Overall, if your ad account ROAS is good and your overall ad account CPA is good, then why are we turning off ads? It makes no sense. Like, what if some ads are there to drive volume and upper funnel awareness, and other ads are there to convert at a good cost and drive a good 7-day click ROAS? Like, is there a world where different ads have a different role in your ad account and your business objective? Yes, there is, and that's the way that we look at this, and we believe in this, and we just never turn ads off. We never do, and nobody can tell us otherwise. Like, it just makes no sense. And if turning off volume drivers was such an important thing to do, and if this, like, old way that we used to media buy like 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, of every week going into the ad account and flicking off ads that are not hitting a free ROAS, because that's the way that we used to do it, and which is just crazy to think about. But if that was best practice, I don't think we'd have been able to scale our internal brand to 300k a month in 12 months if we were turning off the highest spending ads that don't have the best ROAS all the time. I don't think it would have been possible. You know, like the volume drivers is what drive volume and drive business growth, not the ads that are sitting at a really low spend and good ROAS. They're not doing anything for your primary business objective on Meta, which is volume. They're not doing anything to achieve that. I've just gone on a big waffle and a tangent there. This is something I'm very passionate about. Does all that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think as well, like the most important takeaway from that is if you are turning off those ads that you think are underperforming and they're not doing their job in the wider funnel, the ones that are spending nothing and getting a great ROAS, you're leaving those on and you're turning off the biggest spenders, you're going to end up with no creatives in your bloody ad account by that point. If you're just turning off everything that's not hitting your targets, you're going to end up with nothing. And then that puts you in an even worse position than you were in the first place.
But that's what happens though. That's what happens. You turn off ads on a weekly basis, and then you cycle in new ads maybe once a month, and then every single time you turn off ads because they're not hitting your target ROAS, spend goes to the next best ads and the next best ads and the next best ads based on estimated action rates, which is how the auction works. And before you know it, you're just constantly sending forcing spend to lesser performers, which is ruining our overall efficiency. That's how it works. It makes no sense. And also, if you think about like going back to how like meta optimization works, right? I think we spoke about this earlier on. Most advertisers are running on a highest volume optimization setting. So that's where when you're setting up your campaign, it asks you, do you want to optimize for highest volume? Do you want to optimize for, you know, highest value? Do you want to optimize for, you know, cost controls, bid caps, all these different kind of optimization settings that you can set at campaign and ad set level. Most advertisers are optimizing. Meta as a default is optimizing for highest volume of sales. That's the message you're giving Meta. Saying to Meta, I want you to drive in the highest volume of sales. So you set your campaign up to optimize for the highest volume of sales, right? And then you go in there manually on a weekly basis, sometimes even on a daily or every second and third day, and you turn off all of the creatives manually. You turn off all the creatives that are doing the thing that you've asked it to do. They're driving the highest volume of sales because they're not hitting a ROAS target that's in your head that you've not even told Meta that you want. It just makes no sense. It's like, I'm going to turn off these top spenders because they're not a 3.5 ROAS. Meta doesn't know you want a 3.5 ROAS. You've told Meta you want the highest volume. So like Meta's doing the thing that you're asking it to do, and then you're going in and overruling it and turning them off because of a target in your own head. It just makes no sense. It's so backwards. Like it will just never make sense to me. I just don't understand how anyone can justify it.
Getting heated, honestly. I could see you turning more and more red as you get through this far.
Like, just tell me how it makes sense. If you're asking Meta to get you the highest volume of sales and then you're turning off ads that are doing the thing that you've asked them to do, it just makes no sense. It's like, yeah, it's crazy work, crazy behavior. And a lot of the time, that's how these businesses get stuck in this rut with Meta. Because like, again, you're on the ROAS hamster wheel and you're turning off ads that are driving the highest volume of sales because they don't have as good of a ROAS as ads that aren't driving the highest volume of sales. A lot of the time, like if you think about it, what we see, statics, lower funnel statics drive a strong ad account ROAS. DPAs always drive a strong ad account ROAS. And the correlation with those ads that drive the best ad account ROAS a lot of the time is higher frequency, lower first time impression ratio. Right, so you end up you're on this ROAS hamster wheel and you're turning ads off all the time that have got the best. You're leaving on the ads that have got the best ad account ROAS and turning off the ones that haven't. You end up with an ad account that's full of ads that have got a really high frequency, right? They've got a really low first time impression ratio, and there is zero net new reach for the business. And that's how you get stuck in a washing machine with Meta, where you're not reaching new people, you're not growing, you're not scaling, because you've spent this whole time optimizing for ad account ROAS and turning off all the highest volume drivers because they're not hitting this made up target ROAS in your own head, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I feel like one of the things that we use a lot that probably people that are doing what you're talking about is we look at spend as the most important metric because of this. Like we literally, whenever we talk about what's performing at the minute, it's what is Meta allocating most of the budget to, and that's just it.
Again, yeah, that's the winner for us. What the spend for us when we're looking at ad accounts spend is the needle moving metric. It sits at the top of our hierarchy of ad channel metrics, and it always will. And again, that's because we're operating on a highest volume optimization setting. So the ad that the ad that the algorithm thinks can drive the highest volume of sales and therefore pushes the most spend to that ad, that is the winner. And it's as simple as that. And it might not have the best ROAS in your ad account. In fact, it won't have the best ROAS in your ad account. It will never have the best ROAS in your ad account. But that's just not a problem for your business. It's really not. You're not asking it to have the best ROAS for your business. You're asking it to drive the highest volume for your business, which is what it's doing. A lot of the time it's videos, what we see. For a lot of our wellness brands, it's like, if we think about Hydrava, for example, the street interviews are often like they're the highest spenders and the volume drivers, and they have like ridiculously low cost per clicks, like sometimes sub 20p, and they have like 3, 4, 5% click-through rates, and they have insane first-time impression ratios, and they have really low frequencies. But then they might be on a 0.7 ad account ROAS. So do we turn them off? Do we turn them off? Because surely they're bleeding cash. Well, no, because in my opinion, those ads are the ones that's enabling us to scale the account, because they're the ones that are bringing new people into the funnel that are then converting on lower funnel ads, statics, other videos. And that's how we keep the cogs turning and keep the business moving in the right direction. If we were to go and turn off all of those street interviews because of their ad channel ROAS and CPA, the downside risk of that would be detrimental. We'd probably have to scale spend back.
Yeah, undo all the work that you've done.
Exactly.
Crazy.
Makes no sense. A lot of the time, videos are the volume drivers, and like I said earlier, statics and DPAs do a lot of the lower funnel work, pushing people over the line. But again, all your different creative formats and different types of content, they have to play their role in the wider business objective and goal. That's the way you have to think about it. I mean, something that we talk about a lot, I was listening to Barry Hott the other day. We love being hot at Paradigm. And he said on a podcast that he doesn't even look at ROAS at ad level. Like he doesn't even look at ROAS at ad level. It's completely redundant to him because it makes no sense. It's just flawed. He said he looks at ROAS at campaign level and ad set level, but at ad level he doesn't even look at ROAS, because the first click, the awareness, could go to ad A, let's say, and then 8 or 9 days later, a customer will click on ad B, they'll convert on ad B. Ad B will get that attribution, ad B will look like it's amazing, ad A will get forgotten about. Most advertisers go and turn off ad A in that instance, but ad A did all of the legwork. Without ad A there, we don't acquire that new customer. And that's why Barry and we also agree that ad level ROAS is somewhat redundant. We don't have any data point inside of Meta or anywhere on the internet that can tell us this ad drove this sale. That doesn't exist. We have ad attribution, which we take with a pinch of salt, because there's nothing telling us this was the first click, this was the second click, this was the third click, and then this was the last click. A lot of the time, the ad that drives the last click will be the one that gets the attribution. But the ad that drives the last click, in my opinion, has done the least to acquire that sale. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm totally with you. I agree.
So I think, ad level ROAS is just somewhat redundant. It just doesn't mean much to us at all. And that's why turning off volume drivers is the worst thing you can do for your business. It's the worst thing you can do for your meta advertising.
Cool. I feel like it does go nicely into the next one though.
Yeah, it does. I like this next one too.
We've got meta ad myth number 2. Creative testing campaigns are needed. You already look not happy about that.
Yeah, I just think creative testing by the way, like, it's just funny.
We did used to do that.
We did used to do them. It's funny how you learn and you evolve. And we also used to turn off volume drivers. It's funny how, like, you learn and evolve, like, in not just in, like, media buying, I guess in anything in life. Like, we all probably look back at things we said and did a year ago and cringe. And it's the same as what we do with media buying, right? Like, we look back at stuff that we used to do. I think back about old client calls, like 2 years ago. like, yeah, we turned off these ads because they weren't driving a free ROAS, and the creative testing campaign, we duplicated winners over to, and I just look back and I cringe at myself thinking, as if I actually thought that was the right thing to do. And creative campaigns is another one of those things where, for me, they make no sense. They're absolute cost pits. As a best practice with Meta, we just try and avoid forcing spend at all costs. Like, we never ever want to force spend on anything. We work with the machine algorithm. We work, we want to align with it. And in any instance where we're going to try and force spend and try and act like we're smarter than the algorithm, it's just silly work, in my opinion. And creative testing campaigns, that's essentially what we're doing. We're saying to Meta, we're going to put these new tests in this new campaign because we feel if we force spend on them, they're going to perform better than they would if we threw them straight into a scaling campaign. They won't. What's going to happen is you're going to have a creative testing campaign probably on 10 to 20% of the overall account budget, right? Which is super low in the grand scheme of things. Like, if we're spending 10 to 20% of our account budget on a testing campaign, what you'll see several creatives will perform really well at low spend. That's not a winner. They're not winning creatives. Again, going back to what we said on the last note, our objective with Meta is to drive the highest volume of conversions. So the winning creatives do not drive decent efficiency at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 pound a day. Winning creatives drive volume around other winning creatives, right? How many times do you see, and have we seen in the past, Grace, when we used to do this, as creative 2, 3 and 4, they're driving really good efficiency in a creative testing campaign, and then you duplicate them over to the scaling campaign with the historic evergreen winners, and they don't spend a penny.
Yeah.
It's because they're not winners. It's because they're winners at low spend in a creative testing campaign, but that is not the measure of a true winner. The measure of a true winner is, if we put this into our BAU scaling campaign, can it hold its weight amongst other historic winners for the brand? It doesn't need to outspend them. It doesn't need to be the highest spending ad we've ever produced, but can it drive volume? Can it hold weight? If it can drive volume, if it can drive meaningful spend amongst those other winners, then that is a winner. A winner isn't something that can drive a 5 ROAS at 30 quid a day in testing. Makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, it's unreal, isn't it? The thing that bugs me so much about it is the whole moving stuff around all the time and just having this constant turning things off, and it's just fragmenting everything that you've got in your ad account. There is nothing wrong, and it is best practice to just have one campaign, unless in previous episodes where we've talked about different business models, and in that case I totally get having multiple campaigns for different reasons, but there is no way you need a creative testing campaign, and you do not need to be playing with it every 5 seconds. Absolutely not.
It just makes no sense, and I don't understand how forcing spend into a creative testing campaign is going to drive more efficiency for the business. It's not. It's impossible. You will never ever become more efficient by forcing spend in a creative testing campaign. You'll become more efficient by turning off your creative testing campaign and allowing Meta's algorithm to do its best work by putting all of your creatives in the same campaign, because what Meta's going to do then is it's going to allocate the spend based on estimated action rates. It's going to spend on your best ads and not spend on your worst ads, which is going to drive more efficiency for the business. So creative testing campaigns, TLDR, complete cost pit, cost center, waste of money. And if your primary objective with Meta is to drive the most efficient media spend possible, which most advertisers want that because more efficiency equals more scale, then you just don't need creative testing campaigns. You really don't. So yeah, that's kind of the top and bottom of the creative testing campaign topic.
Yeah, I think it also actually goes nicely into the next one, which is my budget is spread too thin to have too many creatives, which is kind of the same thing as like the second myth, really, because if you don't have enough budget to be using, to creative test, you're not going to get any learnings from anything that you're doing. Like, if you don't have enough budget to spend on 2 campaigns, you most definitely do not have enough budget for 1 campaign. You need to make sure that you have loads of volume, 1 campaign, and your budget is not going to be spread thin around too many creatives. You can't have too many creatives.
Well, you want to consolidate your learnings, right? And how you're going to consolidate your learnings is by having as few ad sets and campaigns as possible. But in those ad sets, and if in said ad set and campaign, I would have as much creative volume as my business can produce in there. Like, your budget can never, whether you're spending 50 quid a day or you're spending 50 grand a day on Meta, you can never ever have, your budget can never be spread too thin to have too many creatives. Like, it's not a thing. It doesn't make any sense. Like, when we launched our brand last year, we launched it on £100 a day. That was the entry level ad spend that we launched the business on. We had no idea how it was going to perform. It was completely not a new product, new test, new business, no historic data, nothing to go off of. And we just chucked loads of statics, loads of UGC and loads of video edits with AI voiceovers. We threw them all into one ad set, because again, we want to consolidate learnings into as few ad sets as possible. And we just let the machine go to work. And with 100 quid a day in ad spend, like £3,000 a month in ad spend, producing 100 plus creatives a month, a lot of people would tell you that that budget spread too thin and it's not best practice. But actually, that creative volume early on for us enabled us to scale really quickly and really aggressively. It's never been a consideration or a worry for us, the fact that probably less than 5% of our creatives are spending above 80% of our budget. We don't care. What we're going to do is we're going to give Meta as much volume and diversification as we can, even at low levels of spend, and we're going to acquire data on what's working and what's not working. That's our approach. And I spoke to a brand last week who they're doing about 150k a month in revenue. They're spending about 40 grand ish a month on ads on Meta and Google. And she said that her and her internal marketing girl had basically been proposing to the agency that they test more content, and they'd been providing the agency with more content. But the agency had said to her that they think that each campaign should only be testing 10 new creatives a month as a maximum, because the budget will be spread too thin and results will become cannibalized. I just don't understand how that can make any sense whatsoever. It just made no sense. And again, going back to, like, we always talk about the auction and the equation and how this stuff works. Like, how does Meta choose which ad it's going to spend on? How does an ad get spent and other ads don't get spent? It all goes back to the formula of estimated action rates and how Meta dictates where ad spend is pushed. Do you want to just show that equation, because it'll give a lot of context as to our methodology and way of thinking, really. Yeah, so this is the ad ranking equation and how Meta decides which ad to push budget to. So you send a new ad live, the advertiser bids, so obviously the budget of this campaign or ad set, times estimated action rates, which is the likelihood an impression shown to this person will lead to your desired result, which for the most part is purchases, plus user value, how interested do you think this individual is going to find this ad, equals total value. So that the ad that wins the auction, the ad that acquires the spend, is the ad with the best total value, which is based on budget times estimated action rate. It's the likelihood of someone taking your desired action. So in theory, if you think about it logically, the more ads we put into this auction, the more creative we put into this auction at any level of spend, the more likely we are to find an ad with a better estimated action rate, therefore a better user value, therefore more spend. Most ads that you produce don't spend a penny. They just don't. And a lot of people can't get their head around that. You know, we spend so much time producing all these ads and most of them don't spend a penny. It's like, yeah, because there's this whole thing that happens before an ad ever spends a penny. You know, like if your ad's not spending a penny, that's because Meta put it through this system and the total value for that creative wasn't good enough to warrant spend. So the more creative you can produce at any level of spend, whether you're spending 50 quid a day or 5 grand a day or 50 grand a day, the more creative you can produce and put into this auction, the more likely you are to find an ad with a good total value and drive spend. And that's it.
Yeah, exactly. I think there was something that we discussed ages ago before we even started the podcast, Charlie. Like, I think this was probably like a super old thing that we discussed, and it might be outdated now, so forgive me. But I remember us discussing once, Meta knows before your ad goes live whether that ad is going to succeed or whether that ad is going to fail. What are your opinions on that?
Well, this is how they know. Like, this is how they know, because it's over the estimated action rate. So Meta will look at your expected conversion rate based on your history advertising on the platform. It'll look at the strength of the creative, the quality of the landing page, and so many factors that go into this equation. And that's how it knows. So, like, you're not gonna you're not going to like create ads with a better estimated action rate by forcing spend on them in a creative testing campaign. Whether you put them in a creative testing campaign or straight into a scaling campaign or into whatever campaign you want, this ad ranking equation is going to be the same regardless of where you put them. So your budget can never be spread too thin. Based on this equation, how is that possible? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. You ready for the next one, or do you have anything else to add to this before we move on?
No, I think we're pretty clear on that. I would just say to people, and what we always say to people is like, if you're up to date with Meta and you're up to date with the current best practices in Andromeda, and Meta's been changing the algorithm so much in the last 18 months to 2 years, and especially in the last 12 months, everything Meta is saying right now is volume and diversification. Meta are not saying you should only be pumping out creative volume if you're spending X. No, they're saying advertisers on the platform, volume and diversification. So if your agency is saying to you, your budget's spread too thin, you've got too many creatives live, just challenge it, because it's probably incorrect.
I agree. I think the next one as well would probably, I feel like this one will ruffle some feathers for sure. I know that I have a lot of arguments with, well, not arguments, disagreements maybe with people about this all the time. So number 4, I need third-party attribution to measure the success of my ads. I just think this is a load of rubbish, but you go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, like attribution as a whole, like for us, we're just not heavy on, like, we don't care too much about, we don't overly care. Obviously we care, but we don't overly care about ad account attribution, about what Triple Pixel says, about what Cometly says. Like, it's just attribution for us isn't, basic attribution's the biggest unsolved problem in this industry in the last 20 years since this became an industry. Attribution is it's the biggest thing that nobody has ever been able to solve, and they never will solve it. So instead of spending all of our time trying to solve attribution, we're just not going to waste our energy on that, because there's other levers and other areas with more leverage for us to focus on. So like whether it's triple pixel attribution, or it's north beam attribution, or it's Cometly, or it's, there was a new one the other day that a client, WeTrack.io, like whatever it is, whatever that third party attribution channel is, one, it doesn't know more than Meta, because Meta's got a pixel on every Shopify store in the world. So it's impossible that a third party attribution channel is more trustworthy and has more data than Meta. And 2, again, it's just another opinion, and we don't like opinions in marketing. We're just not big believers in opinions. We like data, and we like concrete, and we like facts. And whether it's Cometly's opinion, whether it's Triple Pixel's opinion, it's still an opinion. It's just a different opinion. So why is Triple Pixel more valuable and more trustworthy than Meta's opinion? And why is Northbeam's opinion more valuable and more trustworthy than Triple Pixel's opinion? Like, they're just all opinions. And what happens is, a lot of the time with brands, you get stuck in this like attribution. You just get stuck with this vengeance in your head where you're trying to solve attribution, and you're like, I will find the best attribution channel on the market. But that takes so much energy away from actually growing your business, because if you won't solve attribution, but even if you do, that's still not going to grow your business ultimately. So like, it's just a waste of energy. And third party attribution, we've used every tool out there. Like, we've used Triple Pixel, we've used Northbeam, we've used Cometly, we've used, High-ROAS, all these tools we've used in the years that we've been doing this. And the common denominator with these tools is, one, they heavily favor Google and lower funnel. They heavily favor last click. Triple Pixel, your Google ROAS will look amazing, and your Meta ROAS will look like trash. And what are you going to do then? Well, you're going to start scaling Google up based on that, pulling budget away from Meta, which is most often the volume driver for the business. The outcome of that activity and those actions are not the best thing for your business. And also, like, it just creates this, like, how do I word this? It creates this like decision making. It makes decision making so much harder, because like, what do we do if Triple Pixel says this ad or ad set's on a 5 ROAS and Meta says it's on a 0.2 ROAS? Which one do we believe? Because now one attribution tool is saying it's terrible and another attribution setting is saying it's amazing. Then what do we do? Then there's too many voices in the room. And whenever there's too many voices in the room, that massively clouds judgment. just strip it all the way back, just look in one place and one place only, because these different voices, they just cause decision making. They just make decision making impossible. And in marketing, like, you need to have clear frameworks to make decisions, because otherwise you just go around in circles. And we've had it before in the past when a client's married to triple pixel, they're married to it, they absolutely love it, and you end up turning ads off using triple pixel based on triple pixel data. But these ads are the highest and the best performers based on Meta's data and based on highest volume. There's a disconnect between the channels. And a lot of the time, and a lot of these channels, by the way, another point on this topic is, I know triple pixel have, I can't remember the name of it now, Sonar or something that they released.
Sonar, yeah.
Pre-Sonar, triple pixel wasn't sending data back to Meta. So you're turning off ads based on third-party attribution, based on data that Meta's not even getting access to. So again, that creates a disconnect between you and Meta. Meta's not getting the best signal because you're turning off ads that Meta thinks are performing really well based on what it can see. That's never a good idea.
Not at all. Yeah, that one really, honestly, like, I think it's such a struggle with certain brands and certain clients that are getting two completely different sources of truth. It's really hard to, I feel like then it just completely, like, all your wires get crossed, because whenever you're having a catch up with the client or whatever, you're talking about two completely different things, and it's really hard to try and pull them away from, like you said, when they're married to something, it's really hard to get them to move away from it.
It's something that, like, we've seen a lot over the years, is like, when we start working with new business, a lot of the time we kind of have to, like, change their entire decision making framework that they've used for a long period of time. And a lot of the time that is, like, we onboarded a client in January that's been using triple pixel for like 3 years, and triple pixel to her is, she's been running her own ads and it's gospel and it's a North Star and it's the most important thing. So early on in that relationship, there's a period of adjustment there where we're explaining to her why we don't use it, and explaining to her why blended measurement is better, and explaining to her why triple pixel data is actually no more valuable to us than the data that we're seeing in Meta. And some people get on board with it and they understand it and they buy into our philosophy, and other people just don't, and they can't move away from those old habits. Old habits die hard. And it's like, that's an important piece early on in a relationship. But ultimately, I would just never waste any energy as an e-com operator trying to solve attribution. I just think any time and energy I place on this attribution as a topic is just, it's just time and energy that's completely and utterly wasted, in my opinion. You just go and work on product development, go and work on content production, go and work on offers, go and work on CRO. Like, there's so many other levers within your business brand. Like, there's so many other levers within your business that will push the business forward quicker than trying to fix a problem that nobody has ever been able to fix.
Yeah. And speaking of fixing problems, the last myth I definitely would say is media buying will move the needle for my business. I feel like this is something that I see on LinkedIn all the time, people talking about, media buyers are just assumed to be like magical fairies with a wand that they can just wave and magically cure everything for your business. And it's just like, media buying is not going to be the be all or end all of your business at all. It's definitely a positive, it's a multiplier to have, but if you don't have certain things in place, then media buying is not your answer.
Yeah, it's the way that we think about media buying as a topic. And media buying has become so redundant in the last few years. Like, when we started, we were just a Facebook ads agency, right? We didn't do creatives, we didn't do anything other than just push buttons in that account, and that was enough back then, and that was like what every agency were doing back then. But like, over time, with changes that's been made to Meta, how much better Meta's got, the algorithm's got, and how much more it's became focused on creative and other things, like, you evolve and you adapt. And the way I think about media buying now, we think about media buying as an agency, is like, media buying drives efficiency, right? Like, the best media buying possible will drive your business the most efficiency that your business can drive. But like, the biggest levers for growth, they don't come from media buying. Like, they just don't, right? Like, when you're talking about growth levers in e-com, near enough all of those levers come from activities that take place outside of pushing buttons in that account. It's going to be offers, it's going to be product development, it's going to be CRO, it's going to be landing pages, it's going to be content production, it's going to be creative systems, it's going to be producing more UGC. Like, it's all of the actions that you would take to grow your business profitably. The levers that are outside of the ad account are so much bigger, right? Like, if you think about it, when we onboard a new client, and we work with clients that are mainly in that 1 to 10 mil annual revenue range, they come to us and their ad account is often a mess, and they've got toff, moff and boff, and they've got a creative testing sandbox, and then maybe got a brand awareness and a traffic, and you get in there and you tidy things up, and you add to the top and you knock from the bottom, and you consolidate it down, you trim it down. And what happens as a result of trimming it down and consolidating it is immediately it improves efficiency, right? Immediately their MER improves, immediately their blended ROAS improves, because there's been so much budget wastage for the longest period of time because they're not implementing the best media buying practices. But like, those actions don't allow us to just scale to the high heavens immediately. They allow us to make a business more efficient because we trust the way the places that algorithm pushes spend. We don't do creative testing, all these things we've already discussed. But like, when you start talking about growth and moving a business forward, you're not talking about media buying. You're not talking about testing a lookalike stack or an interest-based audience or a retargeting campaign. No, because those things don't drive business growth. Like, so media buying will give you the best media buying will give you maximum efficiency, but the best media buying won't allow you to, the best media buying won't be the growth engine for your business, is what I would say. That's how I would word it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad you said that, because if you said media buying didn't matter, then it means I'm out of a job. So
it definitely matters. And it's like, but the way I think about media buying is, like I said, it's like maximum efficiency, not maximum business growth. Like, if we think about the clients that we work with and the ones that are growing the most and scaling the most, well, they all have like very similar media buying philosophies because they work with us. And we, obviously, as we spoke about in a previous episode that we've done, we have different best practices for different brands based on product ranges, collections, and all these things. But ultimately, like, we have a very similar philosophy of like one campaign or limited campaigns, consolidation. We implement a very similar media buying philosophy across 32 brands. Some of them scale to the high heavens, some of them scale much slower, some of them don't scale at all. Why is that? Well, it's because the primary growth levers for a business, our clients that are scaling the most, they've got unbelievable product development and product drop systems in place. They're frequently dropping new product. They're frequently producing new content. They're working with user-generated content creators. They're working with, affiliates. They're doing events, and they're dropping new product frequently. They're on TikTok shop. They're doing so much more outside of the ad account, and ultimately those things are a lot of the time what's driving growth for the business, rather than pushing what as an ad account. So I think that's like basically the top and bottom of what we mean by media buying won't move the needle massively for your business. Yes, the best media buying will get you as much efficiency as possible, but you're not going to be able to Chad scale your way to higher revenue ultimately, like you maybe think you can, or like people thought they could a few years ago. You're going to need great product, you're going to need great offers, you're going to need to be constantly thinking about ways that you can expand your TAM, whether that's with new colors in a certain SKU, new flavors in a certain SKU, new channels to go after, TikTok shop and all these other things. Like, that's what's going to drive growth. Again, I'm just going on a tangent here, repeating myself. Does all that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but it's all relevant stuff, and it is the stuff that will actually move the needle for the business. So I feel like it's relevant. I'll let it slide.
It is. These are just the conversations that we have all the time. Like, and you get clients that come to you and they're like, they've been stagnant for a minute, and you might not be scaling as much as you once were, or ad spend might be pulled back a little bit because results are a little bit rocky or whatever it may be. And you get clients that come to you and they have people in their ear and they're getting audits, and they're getting hit up with Loom videos every day from other agencies promising them the world, and they come to us and they say, can we test out this different media buying structure? We've been running this one campaign for a year now, and maybe we need to change it up to get to the next stage. And it's like, well, we can, but it's not going to, by building a creative testing campaign or testing a different audience, or you know, running cost cap versus highest volume, or T-ROAS versus highest value, these things are not going to create a significant amount of leverage. They're going to give you small percentile changes in performance. But however, if you drop a new product that's a banger and it's a hero product, and you sell it to your existing customer list first, not moving from 7-day click to 7-day click 1-day view, not moving from bid cap to cost cap, or moving from bid cap to highest volume. I think we spoke about this on a previous episode. It's like understanding in your business, what are the highest leverage moves that we can make, and what are the lowest leverage moves that we can make. And if you've already got like all the best practices implemented from a media buying perspective, you know, consolidation, lean, maybe 7-day click if it's right for your business, you know, not turning off volume drivers, all these things that we talk about, if you've already got those things implemented, like there's not much more that you can be doing within your ad account to push the business forward.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, thanks so much, Charlie, for your insight. Always good.
No worries at all. I'm glad I could help.